Hello, welcome to Unit 3 of our course, Managerial Leadership. So this week, this unit, we are going to continue with our reframing theory. You remember the Lee Bowman's theory on reframing. So this unit is dedicated to the last two frames of the reframing theory. In order to be able to reach that objective, I would like to share with you a presentation. And we have a couple of activities this unit that I'm quite sure you're going to like. So let me get to my presentation so I can share it with you. So as I was saying, this is the part 2 of the reframing theory. And just to remember what we were talking about last week, what we were talking about last unit. If you remember, we were, when we saw the introduction of the reframing theory, we were talking about this idea of reframing. And we said reframing is really a coherent set of ideas that enable us to see and understand more clearly what is going on a day-to-day basis. Remember, leaders have the full responsibility of, first of all, knowing what is going on, to be able to evaluate in a clear way what is happening, what is going on inside the organizations. And as we said, this is not easy because usually problems don't come in a black or white, in a black or white situation. Usually they come in in shades of gray. What makes them sometimes very complicated to really understand. In other words, how can a leader start solving problems if that same leader has not a clear idea on what the real source of the problem is? So that's our first goal. Remember that you also were, at the beginning of our course, you also went through this exercise where you were able to determine your leadership profile. We said it is not going to be clear until later on. So yes, in this unit, we are going to make clear what our profile is, our leadership profile is. What does it mean when we see our leader graph? Okay, so we said we have 4 frames of leadership. The structural frame, we talked about it in Unit 1. The human resources frame, we talked about that one in Unit 1 as well. And today, we're going to talk about the political frame and the symbolic frame. Those are the 2 frames we're going to analyze in this unit. Talking about the political frame. Well, talking about political issues in a business and an organization is not easy because usually people don't like it. And if you ask yourself, how come we don't like the political frame? Well, every time somebody brings up the subject of political issues, it's kind of, we don't like it. We try to stay away from it. And the reason why we do this is because we usually misunderstand the topic of the political issues. Political issues, it is not that whether we like them or not, the reason why we don't like them is because usually we understand, we figure out that we're talking about politics from the government perspective. And unfortunately, not all of us really like that idea about being involved in political issues from the perspective of the governmental issues that we have in our mind. And that's the main reason why when we hear political issues, we try to stay away from it. Now, when it comes into an organization, if we try to look at this from the organizational point of view, we do have to understand that political issues are part of the organization dynamics. If we like it, great. If we don't like it, same thing, because they are there. They are going to be part of the dynamics of the organization. We are not going to bring them away from there. So we have to deal with them. We have to understand, especially if we are the leaders. If we are leaders of a department, the whole organization, or maybe one team, or whatever it is, we need to understand and make clear that when we talk about political issues, we have to understand how they work. We have to understand the flow of them, and we have to be able to use them. So when we talk about political issues inside an organization, we are really talking about power. Yes, power. So I don't want to go very deeply inside political issues, but what I would like to do is I would like to share with you and understand what the different sources of power leaders have inside organizations. So let's get through it. So the sources of power, first of all, is the position authority. The position of power, the authority. Every time you receive a new position, every time you are, they hire you for a new position inside an organization. If you are a manager, if you're a director, if you are, I don't know, just a chief of one position, it doesn't matter. That position they are giving you, it comes with a certain amount, with a certain package of power. It's included as part of your assignment. So when you receive this assignment as the manager of for human resources, I'm just making up, you receive with that assignment, you receive a certain amount of power that you are supposed to use. That's why they give it to you. So if you are the director, the CEO, if you're the CEO, the chief executive officer, of course, your package of power is a lot bigger than the package of power for the human resources manager. Okay? But when we talk about position power, we talk about authority, this is the power we are referring. Remember, it comes with the position. Has nothing to do with you. It comes with the position. And it's provided so that you use it. Don't abuse it, but use it. Okay. Now, the second source of power, information and expertise. You have to agree with me. If you have information, you have a lot of power. If you have experience, you have a lot of power. So the person with more experience, the person that knows about a certain matter, the person that becomes the expert of this matter, particular matter, whatever it is, the person who has more information about this matter, that person becomes very powerful. So remember, information, being able to collect information, to gather information, and being the expert in a particular issue, that is going to give you power inside an organization. Our next one is control of rewards. Well, let me explain you how this works. If you are able to give a reward for something, if you are able to make people do something because you can reward them, you can give them a prize, then they are going to do it. So this is also a source of power. Remember, when we talk about the different sources of power, I'm not telling you that all of them are good or all of them are uh, that you should use them all. I'm just trying to share with you the different sources that we identify. And control of rewards is one source of power. It's like, let's say that we have a father, I mean, that there's one father, and the father has a kid. The kid, he's a 7-year old, and they're sitting at the table, they're having dinner, and the kid, he doesn't want to eat the vegetables. So the father says, son, if you eat your vegetables, I'm going to allow you to play video games 1 hour tonight before going to bed. That is the control of rewards. I can reward you with something so I can influence you. I have power over you. You are going to do what I want because I can reward you. That's the example. But also, in the same sense, but completely opposite, we have the coercive power. Now, be careful, this one is not very good. In order to be able to explain it, let me go back to our example of the father. This is the father, and he's having dinner with his family, and the son, he doesn't want to eat the vegetables. So the father says, okay, let me tell you something, son. If you don't eat your vegetables, I'm going to give away your video game. So you're never going to see it again. So either you eat your vegetables or say goodbye to your video game. That's a coercive power. Can you see how the same person has influence over the son, but with a different perspective? The first one was because I can give you a reward. The second one is because I can punish you. So coercive power is not very recommended. However, I have to mention it because it's part of the sources of power. Also, alliances and networks. Now, this one is great. This one is really good. Alliances and networks. The person who's able to build an alliance or to build networks, that person is great. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example, but just out of my mind. Imagine that you are the planning director of a company. Okay, you're the planning director of an organization, and you can see a new business opportunity for the organization, and you see that this business opportunity is going to be great because nobody's doing this, because many people need this, and you are able, with not very much investment, you are able to provide this service or to provide this product to the people at a very good price. So you know it, you make a lot of research, and you are going to make a proposal during the next meeting of the board. The board of directors of the company is going to meet, and you want to make a presentation about your idea. Okay? So the day comes, they give you 15 minutes to make your presentation to the board, and you start talking to the board and you tell them, thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to share with you my idea. So this is my idea. I identified this new product that we can sell. Nobody's selling it. Many people want to buy it. We can make it with not very much investment, but we can make it at a very reasonable price. And I believe this is going to be great. And then all of a sudden, the director for finance raises a hand and says, excuse me, uh, I believe that you are going to need money for that project. Well, yeah, we need to buy some machines and some other stuff. And do you have the money for that? Because remember, our budget this year is very stretched. So there's no money for investments. So can you tell me where you're going to bring the money from? Well, really, I don't know. Okay, thank you very much. And then the human resources director says, excuse me, I have another question. I believe that you're going to need people for that. If you want to do this project, you're going to need people. Oh yeah, we need a team of 12 persons. Great. Where are you going to get them? I mean, are you going to transfer people from other department? No. We're going to hire new people. So you're going to hire people? Yes. Well, we don't have open positions. My question is, where are you going to get the position from? Well, no, I don't know. Your idea is dead from the beginning. Now, back up on that. And instead of going directly to the board of directors meeting, 2 weeks before you are going to make your presentation, you invite breakfast to the director of finance. So you call him and said, hey, I would like to buy you breakfast tomorrow. I need to talk to you about something. So here you are with the director of finance outside of the office, having breakfast. And then you tell him, okay, this is my idea. This company can grow a lot with this idea because nobody's doing it and whatever. But I have a problem. In order to be able to do this, we need to invest some money and we don't have the money. I was thinking on maybe you can identify somewhere where we can cut a little bit of the budget, this year's budget, and be able to use this budget for my idea. And then the director of finance says, well, yeah, maybe there's, I believe we can get the money. We have a couple of projects that have been canceled. So we have a couple of projects that we didn't use the money. Maybe we can use that money and canalize and put that money into your idea. Let me find out. And then next day, you have a meeting in, I don't know, in a restaurant, you buy lunch or whatever to the director of human resources. And then you tell the guy, you know, this is my idea. You make the whole presentation and then you tell him, but I have a problem. I don't have the people to do this. And I would need to hire people, but we don't have open positions. And I was thinking on maybe you can help me. Do you identify somewhere where we can get some positions so we can hire people? And the guy says, well, yeah, actually we have, do you remember the department that disappeared? Oh, yeah, remember. Well, we have those positions there and they haven't been filled yet. So maybe we can use some of those positions for your project. What are you doing? You are creating a network. You're creating an alliance. And that is going to give you a lot of power. So by the time you reach the meeting, the board of directors meeting, you already have an alliance. You already have a network of people that is going to back you up because you created it before. So this is a very nice, and this is a very good source of power. Also, if you are able to include the topics on the agenda, if you're able to say, what are you going to do and when, that is going to give you a lot of power also. The framing and the control of meanings and symbols, this is what we're doing. Understanding the frames, knowing what each one of the frames include, and also the symbols that are included, that we're going to see the symbols in a little while, that is going to give you power. And of course, also we have personal power. Some people call it charisma. I don't really know what it is. I wouldn't be able to explain it, but I'm sure about something. It exists. Charisma exists. It's so, when somebody comes into the room and you just see the person and you know that there's something very special about this person, but you don't know what. Personal power, charisma. As I said, I wouldn't be able to explain it. I don't know of any course you can take to develop your own charisma, but definitely it's there. Okay? So the sources of power, and remember always, there's only one thing that is worse than abusing the use of power, and that's not knowing what to do with it. Power is good if you use it to help people, if you use it to make the organization grow, if you use it responsibly. The problem is not power. The problem is not the political issues. The problem is what people do with them. So don't be afraid about using power. Be afraid about using it wrongly, or be afraid about not using it. Because some people decide not to use the power, and that's a big mistake. So remember, your position and your own person, you have different sources of power. Use them responsibly, but use them. And our last frame is the symbolic frame. This is one of my favorites. Symbolic frame is interesting because symbolic frame is the one that we use the less, and is a very important one. The symbolic frame is about meaning. You know, let's be honest here. What is the most important role of an organization? What is the most important thing of an organization? Why corporation, businesses, why do they exist? And then you can tell me because corporations, they have to be good to the community and everything, and I buy it. Yes, the answer is yes. But number one, to make a profit. Imagine an organization that is very good to the community, that they do a lot of very good things for the community, but they are losing money. They are going to disappear. So the number one responsibility of every single business or every single corporation is to make a profit. Now, that is the truth, but that is very cold. It doesn't sound good. So there has to be something more. I mean, there has to be something more than just making money. Well, the symbolic frame is about finding that, finding the meaning. So the symbolic frame is the one that is going to give a different view to the organization. Every time we talk about the mission and the vision of our organization, we're talking about the symbolic frame. That's part of the symbolic frame. So the symbolic frame has its roots in the symbolic assumptions. First one, what is most important is not what happens, but what it means. Many people, they are not interested in the meaning. They're just interested in what they do. Remember, every time you make a decision and every time you have an action, there's one thing, what you are doing, and there's another thing, the meaning of what you're doing. And the second sometimes is even more important than the first. So every time you do something in an organization, ask yourself, what is the message I'm sending? If you need to fire people because you need to cut the expenses or whatever, if you need to fire people, okay, there's two things you can do. You can either fire them. What is going to happen? Everybody in the organization is going to start wondering if they're next. Everybody's going to say, well, this doesn't look very good. They already fired 10 people. Maybe I'm the next one. Maybe I should start looking for another job. And they get worried and they start looking for other options and they disconnect from their job. Because they are wrong? No, because you didn't send the right message. The other thing you can do is you can just stand in front of the whole organization and tell them, I'm sorry to tell you that we're going through not very good times. We need to cut some expenses. Fortunately, after cutting some of our expenses, we're going to be able to survive. We're going to be able to continue operations. But unfortunately, we need to fire 10 people. So after we fire these 10 people, we don't want to, but we have to. After that, everything is going to be back to normal. Well, the thing is that you're firing the same 10 people. But in the second case, you are now interested in the message that you're sending because you don't want people to start feeling nervous. Okay, so this is part of the symbolic frame. Also, events have meanings and people make interpretations of them in a different way. We have to understand that not everybody makes the same interpretation. And especially when we face uncertainty and ambiguity, we have to create these symbols in order to resolve confusion and in order to be able to anchor hope and faith. Uh, Especially when we're going through very complicated times, the symbolic frame can help us bring meaning and bring hope and faith to the organization and the people inside the organization. Uh, Usually, many events are more important for what it expressed than what is produced. So the symbolic frame is about creating myths, heroes, heroines, rituals, ceremonies, and stories so that people find a purpose and people find passion about their personal lives. And the culture inside organizations, that's the glue that holds it together. So in an organization, if you pay good salaries, well, good. That's good. I mean, paying good salaries is one of the most important things. Yeah. But if you cannot make people work together, if you cannot make people feel like part of the same team, it doesn't matter how good you pay. If you pay great salaries, but people don't want to work together in a team, then your organization is not going to have good results. So what is going to glue your people together? The symbolic frame. The symbolic frame is going to make the people work together and feel like part of the same family or company. Okay. So when we talk about the symbolic frame, what are the elements that we can use? One of them is we can use myths, vision, values, create these stories, the story behind the story. Like if you have a good story about a company, how it was created, how it was born, what is the story about the founder of the company? Some people have very interesting stories, and some people have very encouraging stories. So if you have a very encouraging story about the founder of this organization, use it. People need to know. People need to know what are the roots of the organization, not the money they make, but the real values of the organization. Talking about the roots is a very good symbolic element. Also, to create heroes and heroines. Um, this participants of your organization that they gave meaning to something. For example, every time we talk about the employee of the month, heroes, we're talking about heroes. Um, I have to tell you the story about a very big um, store in the United States, a very big chain of stores. It's for hardware and supplies. It's huge. And they have this in every single store, they have the employee of the month, and every single store selects the employee of the year. And then they have this competition where all the stores in one state, they compete and they take every year the employee of the state of the year, okay? The one that has the best recognition. And then they have a competition from all the employees of the whole United States in the year. And they have the real big winner. And the big winner receives a big prize. So in this store, the story is that the employee that received some years ago this recognition, they received the prize for the employee of the whole company in the US for the whole year, was a man that he was working, helping the people, helping the customers. And he had one very particular customer. This customer, a man that is working all day long, he has contracts to make different jobs in different homes, and maybe he's doing an installation for an air conditioning, or maybe he's repairing a window in another home, and so on. So this man was working all day long, and he didn't have much time to buy all the materials he needed every day. So this employee, every day in the morning, was waiting for his customer. The customer came in and gave him a list, a piece of paper with the different things he was going to need. And then the customer went away every day. And later, maybe at lunchtime, he would come back and the employee of the store would have everything ready. Everything on the list was already ready. And so the customer every single day took the ticket, went to pay it, and by the time he was back to his pickup truck, it was already loaded. And thank you very much. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. So that was the story. But one day, the customer came in, he gave the list to the employee, and the employee was going through the list, and he found out that there was something that the customer needed and they didn't have it. I don't know, let's make it up. Let's say it was, I don't know, pieces of wood of a certain measure. They didn't have it. So what the employee did is he took his own free time. He took his own truck. He went all the way to the competition, to the store in front, to the competition, and bought these pieces of wood and brought them back to the store. So when the customer came in, he said, is everything ready? Everything is ready. Here, now, this is the ticket that you have to pay to the cashier, but this is another ticket that you have to pay to me. And the customer said, why? He said, well, you needed a very specific wood and we didn't have it. So I went to my competition and bought it for you so that you wouldn't need to go somewhere else. So this is a ticket for the wood that I bought and you need to pay it back to me. That is the story. Can you figure out? The man got the prize because he bought from the competition? Yes. But he did it so that the customer was satisfied and that the customer didn't need to go to the competition. And that's one of the stories of the symbolic frame. So every time you talk about stories, every time you create the stories inside the organization, you're talking about the symbols, the symbolic frame, the rituals and the ceremonies. Rituals and ceremonies are very, very much the same. But remember, uh, a ritual is something that you do more often. Like every year you celebrate the anniversary of the company. Yes. But how many times are you going to celebrate the 50 years of the company? Just once. That's a ceremony. Okay. So rituals, ceremonies, they give us the opportunity to develop the symbols, to develop the symbolic frame, to develop this idea that the people feels like they belong to something that is bigger and better than just a company making money. Okay. So now that we finished our frames, I'm going to ask you please to watch the Martin Luther King video that is in the resources column. There's two parts for it, part one and part two. Please watch the video, watch it very closely. And before you watch it, follow the instructions because there's a certain activity that you're going to need to do. Thank you so much.